Let's stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
Clay, do you want me to go ahead and just start, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You put this together, so let's just start going over what we're gonna do. You drafted it, so.
What's the easiest for everybody? Is it easier for me to share my screen, or I
printed it out.
Did you print the second one or the first one? Because the first one is
Both.
the wrong one. Okay.
Both.
The second one is the one you want. All right. If everybody's good, I mean, I can just work off my iPad, and then if not, I can turn the screen over, whatever's easiest.
All right.
I just work off my iPad, or you want me to turn the screen on?
Work off your iPad. Let's not.
Yeah, I have it up on my computer here. I'm good.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just go through it, and then so we'll start with sheet 1 and then move on to sheet 2. Everything is the same, obviously, but we'll just go right down. We'll start with the top line, account 101, salaries. So obviously, we've put in the last 2 years for salaries for the chiefs. It hasn't happened, but I still feel we should just keep putting that in. And obviously, if that's something that we need to cut, that's $9,000 right there that we can cut right off the top. I'm just going to go through this. If anybody's got any questions, just stop me in between. And
Question before you go on. Being that we're doing a zero budget and we're trying to keep as much money as we can, do you think it would be a good idea to eliminate that 9,000, put it somewhere else just for this year?
We definitely could. I just, I don't want the town to show the town that we're still not fighting for that. I mean, they cut it every year regardless. It's up to you. I mean, as far as equipment and stuff, we can look at where we can spend $9,000 if you wanted to. I just leave it in there. I never really have my heart set on getting that. It's more of, I just want to leave it in there to have. But I understand this year.
Everybody understand
town-
out of finance office and out of Madam Selectwoman's discussions. She's asking is zero based or a 5% reduction in everybody's budgets. That's what they would like to have.
Yeah, we're right around, if you go to the very bottom, we're right around a 5. There's only one line item that's increased in our entire budget.
Maintenance.
No, building.
Yeah, but that's not even our budget.
No,
That's
I know,
town
but
buildings.
that's kind of where that, I wish we could clean up our budget a little bit as far as, putting things in there I don't really need to put in there.
Well, no, we can't. I'll sit with you after the fact. We can eliminate these line items. The way the contractual stuff now in the finance programs are.
Okay, because the budget itself would be a lot cleaner, if you will. Like I said before, if you, we're just looking at this spreadsheet, and you go to the very bottom, it's $456,000. We've never had an operating budget of that much ever.
Now, when the finance department cut the chief's salaries out, do we lose that money, or are we able to put it somewhere else if they take it?
No, they cut it.
And actually, the finance didn't. Kurt did.
Yeah.
Well before the finance group even looked at it. Kurt was the one that said no, and yanked it.
Yeah, I've always had that discussion with Kurt, and I said, I know that's the first thing he pulled, but I just always had kept it in.
Okay.
But again, if we need to move that and get rid of it and make that a zero balance for the year, I'm fine with that as well.
Well, if we left it in there, and if they're looking for a 0 or 5%, and they take that 9,000, they've got their reduction.
Right, and plus we're already.
Yeah, that's almost half.
Yeah, we're already lower than we were last year as well. So
Yeah.
we're still in pretty good shape.
Okay.
105 salaries. So you'll see that's 16,600. That's for your engineers. Let's see, 110. What's that?
Your engineers.
Well, for the engineers, right? 110 apparatus maintenance officer. We haven't had an apparatus maintenance officer since Tommy Jensen. That's been zero. It's actually been zeroed for the last 4 years. 120 clerk. We haven't had a clerk in 2 years, so that's zeroed. 125 secretarial fees. That's been the same. That's for Angela for chiefs and commissioners meetings. I did want to give her a boost, but obviously with the increase and stuff, it's hard to do. 220 Social Security. Again, that $3,130. That's a number that's given to me by the town. That was what was for last year, so I just incorporated it into this year. 340 purchase professional services. Again, that 32,500. That comes from the town. That does not come from me. 350 education meetings and seminars. That is obviously our education budget. I left that exactly the same. We do have some of that money is still, that number was the increase from last year. We do have some of that money left this year. Obviously with the COVID, the most of education things that we've been purchasing are Fire 1, Fire 2, and if anybody's going to a seminar. So a couple of things that we couldn't do is obviously the live burns last year, or this year, I should say. And a lot of the seminars, bringing guys in to have conferences at drills and stuff like that. But I would still, hoping that the world heals itself, I'd still like to stay with that number for this year. We still are currently sending guys to Fire 1 and Fire 2. Most of those classes are by Zoom. Some of them, are hands-on days, but about 80% of the class is now all by Zoom. So 430 repairs and maintenance. I left that exactly the same. We increased that last year by $5,000, and the $5,000 actually is a nice cushion, and we're pretty good ahead of that. If you looked at the printout that Commissioner Amy gave out the other night, you could see where I think we're at 40% left for the year, for the next 6 months at least. So we're still doing pretty good. 530 communications and telephone. You'll see a decrease there. When we go to the next sheet, we could talk about it more. The decrease is the going to the emergency reporting system instead of Firehouse software. Firehouse software was $2,000 more a year.
Mike, if I
yes.
can interrupt you, and I apologize ahead of time to everybody on that. That line item is always just been for Verizon. And then when we have money left over, we incorporate it like for new iPad replacements and updates on that. Or if you need phones or phone chargers.
Okay.
The schooling and education is absorbed through the Firehouse software project.
Okay.
Schooling and education.
All right, so I'll move that around. When we go to the second sheet, we'll just remind me, because what I'll do is I'll make the changes as we go through.
Yep, no problem. So I apologize.
For some reason last year it was in there. It just said Firehouse software renewal. So I just to change that to emergency reporting renewal. But it was a savings of, I want to say like $2,700. So, obviously the emergency reporting this year will be about $4,700. I think the PO was cut for. But a lot of that is initial setups, stuff like that. So that's only fees that we have to pay for the first year. And then your renewal fee is half of that. So travel, 580. So for like 4 years, we've kept $50 in that account. I just zeroed that out. We're not really paying for people to travel, to go to shows or go to conferences. If we send somebody somewhere, they can either bring the utility trucks if it's something for a class. We have the chief's vehicles. People are more than welcome to take a chief's vehicle to a class if there's 4 or 5 guys. So I just zeroed that out. Because really, if guys are taking classes and using our apparatus and stuff, and if they purchase something, we could take that out of education. I don't think we need to keep a travel line item for $50 unless you guys feel differently. I can put that back in. So. 610 general supplies. That's for the cleaning materials for the firehouses. That number is basically from last year's budget as well. Clothing, 615, 35,500. That is for gear, helmets, gloves, extrication gloves, safety goggles, our standard PPE, and that is the same as last year. The town is pretty good with that. They like the recycle of the gear that we, every year we're buying 10 sets of gear, and we're replacing the older gear versus in getting the newer gear. 622, $26,000 for electrical. That is again a number from the town. 624 heating fuel, obviously to heat the two firehouses, $28,000. That is again given to me by the town. 626 gasoline and diesel, $17,000. I don't know where we fell last year, but 17 was the number that they gave us last year, so I kind of left that the same. If anything, we may have gone over that with all the parades we did.
Oh yeah.
Pete caught it. Okay, 720. So last year that was at 47,000. This year it's at 50,000. We can talk about that when we get to the second sheet. Equipment capital, 740. So last year we were at 41,114. So we'd put that money there in case the bond package did not go through for the radio upgrade. And that was going to be for portables for the chiefs and the officers. So obviously the bond package went through. So we did not use that capital. So I took that capital out, seeing that project is pretty much closed from the fire side. And the capital line items for this year is roughly about $35,000. We'll talk about the two items that are on there when we get to the second sheet. 741 vehicle lease. We don't have any vehicles currently leased. It's been zeroed for 4 years, so I left it at 0. Machinery, machinery equipment, OSHA. That is our OSHA spend line. So that's for all of our pump testing, aerial testing, ground ladders, hose testing, any annual testing that we need to do. That's been pretty locked in at $49,000. We have not, gone over or been short unless, obviously there's some type of major repair we have to make. So pretty much for the last 4 years, as far as I could go back, it was in the 47 to the 49 range. So I left that at 49. Machinery equipment, non-capital. You'll see that's a bit of a decrease there, 38.5. So, we are as far as equipment goes, we're in excellent shape. This year, you'll notice when we go to the second sheet, most of the items that, talking with the officers, most of the items that we're looking to replace are all replacing equipment that's either outdated, 20 years old, or we're purchasing new equipment as far as like ropes or stuff like that. So, any questions on the first sheet? We can always go back. All right, so if everybody can just go to the sheet 2, everything we talked about is basically on here. So what you'll see here is, if you notice in the spreadsheet column E, what I did is I highlighted and color coordinated everything. So obviously you'll see, the chief's salary, we requested $9,000. That's the same as the year before.
Mike, I didn't get that email.
You didn't get the second one?
No, I didn't get
It
that.
might be a second sheet on
If you
the
go-
actual Excel spreadsheet.
The tab, sheet 2, clear in the bottom.
I tried that and I couldn't get it.
Do you want me to go ahead and share it on my screen?
Does everybody else have it and just, I'm the only one?
I don't either. Yeah, I only got the.
Yeah, go ahead, share it, Mike.
Okay. Rory, do you have to make me the moderator for that?
No, you can share.
I'm gonna share the screen or?
Yeah.
You should be able to give it a try. If I got to change something, I will.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see.
Rory, do you have to sit in on all these meetings?
Either me or Malia in our office. Somebody's got to, just because the executive order requires we post the recordings, so somebody's got to be here to record them. And
My God. I don't know how you do
well, I'm doing other stuff. Don't think I'm.
it.
all of them.
So he's just sitting there listening.
Multitasking.
Rory, so I have it on my screen. How do I roll that over?
So on the bottom of the, like beneath where all the video feeds are, there's a button that says share screen.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me go back to that. I'm sorry. Okay, share screen.
And then what you do is you select the window. So, whatever program it is, it should give you a list of everything you have open.
Yep.
You just select the one you want to share.
Careful.
Yeah.
I know.
Matt, while we're waiting, did you get a letter from the town? Matt?
Not yet, but I haven't checked the mail today.
Okay, you gotta go get sworn in.
Right.
Okay.
So Rory, it's not giving my file as an option. So is there another way to do that?
File
Do
open.
you have the file open?
Yeah, hold on, I'm double check it.
Is this an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
And you have it open?
Yeah, hold on, I'll double check and make sure I have that. Okay, so it's open on my end. Like I can physically see it. I don't know how to get it to you guys.
And what are you using? A phone?
I'm using my iPad Pro for the meeting, and then I have my Mac set up with everything.
So
Yeah.
you have a separate computer.
I have 2 computers running, correct?
It has to be on the same one. The same one that's running Zoom is where you have to be, opening the file from.
Want me to share it? Want me to try?
Yeah, if you can, that'd be awesome. For some reason, it's not on my option screen where it asks me what device I want to use. It's not
There you go.
perfect. That's exactly what I need.
Okay, you just tell me.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I lost everybody. That's all right though. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so this is the second sheet. So if we want to just go through this, these numbers obviously match the numbers from the very first sheet that I talked about, but obviously it breaks it down into a line item. And you'll notice in column E, what I did is I color coordinated it so you can see where everything's the same, or it's really non-compliant because it's based from a number from the town, or it's a zeroed. As you scroll down, you'll see increases and decreases. So again, the only one that's increased is obviously the
As you scroll down.
I can't scroll down. Pete's got him. Yeah, so everything that says N/A, those are numbers provided basically from the town. Pete, can you go down or up? I'm sorry, where are we?
That's the top.
Yep, just go down a little bit more. Okay, right there is perfect. So my only question is on 340 for professional services, purchase professional services for medical and EAP. Do we need to have that EAP, that $2,500? We don't use does that go in towards the, Tom, you might know this question, does that $2,500 there, does that go in towards the, like, is that the town EAP all
No.
lumped into one?
No, that's different. That was going for the Birmingham Health.
Okay,
Previously, when we used them, the town EAP is different, but again, if we have to add to it, it's theirs. It would be considered medical.
okay.
So as
So
as a placeholder, that's fine.
All right, so do we want to just hold that there then? I mean,
I think the last time we asked about it, we were told that our EAP program is different than the towns and we had to have it,
Correct.
we had
It
to fund
is.
our own. So that's why that's there.
okay.
And we're doing fine with medicals, where the pricing is.
Okay. I mean, this is the same thing. I mean, it's an interesting year. Medicals still has a lot of money in it. And again, that was because, for, I want to say about 4 months, Dave's not here, but I know for almost 4 months, they were not allowing us to do physicals due to COVID. We're back to doing physicals. We are not doing, we're doing everything except spirometry. And that's not the Seymour Fire Department, that's Griffin. Because with the spirometry, obviously the COVID is an airborne virus, where spirometry, you have to breathe into the tube. So basically everybody is getting a full physical except the spirometry. And then, at some point, everybody who was going for a physical but did not do spirometry is going to have to go back to Griffin. When I talked to Dave yesterday, he did not know of Griffin making any type of like increases as far as physicals go or anything like that. So, the 30,000, I think we're pretty safe there.
And it's always been a rollover too. If we haven't used all the money, we've been able to roll that one line item because of what it entails.
Okay. We can scroll. Pete, can you scroll down a little bit?
Mhm.
That's perfect. Oh, go. If you can just start right at the 350 mark.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. So education, it's pretty much the same as last year. I put in 12 and 12 for both Fire 1, Fire 2. No increase has really gone up. There are some state fees, but we usually are still in pretty good shape. With Fire 1 and Fire 2, the state is now basically, the $1,200 is including the class, but now you have to pay, I believe it's like a $73 fee to take the test because it's done by computer. I left it the same. I think we're still going to be okay. Obviously 2 RIT classes, those, we could either do a full RIT class or a refresher. Most of the refreshers, we've been doing our own refresher. The Valley Fire School does a good refresher. We actually do a little more of a refresher on our end. Aerial safety class, we ran that last year, so I put in for another one. Any strategy and tactics, whether we want to do strategy tactics 1, 2, or 3, it's about the same cost no matter what. There's been a lot of people have asked about safety officer class. I put that in. Obviously for 4 burns, our burn policy is 4 burns a year. Obviously, again, this year we were unable to do that with the COVID. I put in for 2 Q classes, the flashover, and 2 outside seminars. Now, the other thing too, just a question on my end, and I know this we've talked about this every year, I think, is the fire prevention and public relations material. Is that something that still needs to be in the fire department's budget, or can we push that back to the fire marshal? Not that I'm, anti-fire prevention or anything like that, but we're trying to make some small cuts to really just get the budget to fly through. That's $1,200 right there.
Has the fire marshal asked us for that, or do we know if it's in his budget?
I don't know if it is in his budget. I do not believe last year he asked for it. So I put it in there because it was in there last year, but I don't know if we could, possibly take that out and lower that number a little bit. Let's kind of whatever your guys' thoughts are rather.
Well, let's ask him. I'm going to see him tomorrow morning. You want me to ask him and I'll get back to you guys?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not a big deal. I'm gonna see him tomorrow morning.
Okay, I'll leave that there for now, and then based on your
Okay.
discussion with him, and just see if that number is correct. Like, is 1,200 enough, or is it something where, we're putting in 1,200 and he's putting in something, or whatever. I have no problem keeping it, but if we're not going to use it, I'd rather just take it out.
I'll get the details and get back to all of you.
Any questions on education or the 430 repairs and maintenance? That's obviously, the 65,000 is still the same as last year. Okay. So Tom, this is the 530 that we talked about.
Yes, and realistically, what we've been doing for the last 3 years is on the money there, sort of mostly for the Verizon, and usually you'll have enough money left over to upgrade one of the iPads. Like in your group, our group, whatever you want to say, in fleet, there's a 16 gig iPad, an old one. That this year, when the money's left over, is enough to replace and update one iPad. You're
Okay.
still short an iPad for a vehicle. I know that was offline talked about for one more vehicle to get an iPad. So that's how that was. I moved the station alarm monitoring, which Dee does all the town buildings, and then she divides it, evenly up when she sees the bills. We put that to our old building improvement. That's where that one comes out of. So it doesn't affect us at all. In the software license, I was been taking that out of schooling and education.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if that's what we've been doing,
It's a
I'm
better
cool with that.
fit.
Okay. Why don't we, obviously we'll go through everything still here, but why don't we figure out where we can take out line items so that we can just actually give them a true figure instead of this number at the bottom. The 580 travel, is everybody good just zeroing that out?
I'm fine.
I think keeping $50 in it, I think is kind of,
We'll if we need to, we cut a purchase order and just pay them.
yeah.
We'll get out of education. That's fine.
All right, so that was travel. 610 general supplies, that's the general house cleaning stuff. We did up that last year from 3,000 to 4,000, so I kept it the same. 615 clothing. Obviously, you can see the numbers there for turnout gear, helmets, boots, gloves, hoods, and safety glasses. Those numbers are pretty much where we were last year.
Mike, you do know what the price of the turnout gear came in this year, though?
Was this the increase this year?
Yeah, it was 29,000.
Okay. Yeah, I knew, I want to say this is the third year of our contract. I think the third year we had an increase. All right, so we'll have to move some stuff around in that column then. All right, well, I'll have to look at 615, make a note of that. Just give me 1 second, sorry.
Nope.
615. Okay, so we'll leave that for now, and then let me try. I got to try and figure that out. This got to be in by tomorrow by noon. Is that right, Tom?
It could go to, Doug would like it, and I'm going to see Doug because I want to verify for everybody that electricity, heating oil, gas, and diesel do not have to be in our budget process now.
Okay.
I'll verify that with Doug, and I'll ask him the same thing. And again, most of these were all, the simple Excel spreadsheet was given to finance so they can start looking at, or the first select person would start looking at for their big budgetary thoughts. Where
Right.
again, in January, in March, when the rest of us would meet and do our verbal diarrhea to the Board of Finance, then we would turn around and be ready with our dog and ponies show. But this is the template to see where they're at and where they start to need to cut.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because according to that letter, this is obviously the preliminary, and then January 24th would be when we have to turn in the 12 copies to the town and everything. So, I mean, we still have time to, we don't have to make a final decision on the budget tonight.
And this isn't going to hold you. This is a placeholder. It's not going to say,
Correct.
we do or die with this.
Right.
How are we going to put into our budget heating fuel for natural gas for citizens? How's that going to be figured into the heating fuel?
That is all part of the bigger ticket item with the building upgrades with the town, with the package deal with the group play.
Right, but I'm just saying the 26 or 28,000 that we had there, it's not really a heating fuel. It's not all that same number anymore. Because Great Hill is going to be running on fuel oil. Citizens is going to be running on natural gas. So how is that number is definitely going to fluctuate.
Yeah, but then it's not ours to worry about.
Okay.
We're,
Right.
everybody, Clay, when you were doing finance, remember you would have to sign off the bills for your electricity, the heating, fuel, and diesel? That's no longer, that's an automatic. They come in because they're a vendor and it's the way it's set up in the finance system now. We don't see that to sign off. That's an automatic for all the departments that utilize this.
Okay. Well, Mike, well then why? Yeah. So the big question is, why is it in our budget?
Give me 1 second.
But I'll have that. If Doug's in tomorrow, I'll have that answer. Because when you start taking these numbers out, it's not as big as our budget is not that big.
No, it's not.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Well, that's always been like we've always, at least for the last 4 years that I've been chief, we've always talked about like, thanks. We've always, that wasn't a beer, I swear. The last 4 years, we've always talked about like, the budget. There's a lot of line items in our budget that are $0, and we always keep them there, because the old rumor was, well, if you take it out, you can never have it again. But I don't think that's true. I mean, you look at the clerk. We didn't have a clerk, we got a clerk, and now we haven't had one for 2 years. That that line item's been zeroed. Had $25,000 in it, 0, 0, 0. So. Those items, if we don't need to keep them, it would make our budget look better when we, move forward and do our presentation to the Board of Finance. It's almost like, separating, what is facts and fiction, basically, you know what I mean? Because a lot of this stuff, it's in our budget, but it's not really in our budget.
Okay.
But, if they want me to present it like this, I definitely can. I mean, this is how we've done it for the last 4 years.
Right.
But I just think it might be an easier sell to have it if it's just what items we actually use. Okay, give me 1 second here. All right, so that was heating. The 626 gas and diesel, 17,000. So I believe, again, that number's from the town. So I believe the way that works is basically that number comes from like our readout of what we spend in gas for apparatus and chief's vehicles. They kind of round that number up. Every department has a different number, and that's kind of where we've been in the years before. I left that the same. So I don't have a true reading of what we spent last year. But if 17's worked last year, I think we should probably stay there. Pete, you want to? Perfect. Why don't you bring 720 right to the top? Perfect. Thank you. So what I did here for 720 is I left everything the same. And then you'll see the last line, town service contract, $13,000. Tom, I don't know if you want to talk about this a little more. So last year we were at, I want to say 41. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, last year, to everybody, that line item was removed from our budget. It went under as a 550 line item, which is on the town side, town buildings.
You were at, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, Tom. Last year you were at 47,000. And just so everybody knows, the line item that I took out of building improvements, I left everything the same. The line item that I took out was the floor replacement for Great Hill, because obviously that project's been completed. Everything else is the same. So again, if there's something on here you need me to change, let me know.
So basically with this, it was transferred over to Tim Connors. I had it moved on the finance side of it because in doing the requisitions, I can still pull requisition off of that line item. Doug allowed that to occur. And talking with Tim, because Tim's had a bunch of contractors go around looking at different things for service townwide in all the buildings and getting price quotations. And he said to me, if we're thinking about putting a number, even though it's under him, he said, I'll give me a $50,000 placeholder number. And that's where we briefly had talked, but again, building improvements is under him and Tony Caserta. Mostly everything Clay and I have been uncovering with both buildings. We've gone back to their, this is what we're doing, permission, yes, fix it. And then that's where we end up pulling the requisitions and purchase orders from.
And there's been a lot of go ahead and fix it.
Yeah.
So, the 720, I mean, really that's your, you got, I don't know if you have any big, upgrades you're doing to the buildings or anything like that. If that 50,000 is where you guys need to be, if you need it increased, just tell me and I can change that just on the line items of whatever you need.
Yeah, and that's another line item that won't be in the budget on us.
Right.
On our side. So there's our budget, crew fireside budget will go down continuously here.
Well, and the 50,000 is what Tim Connors asked for.
And that's what he's gonna put in, yeah.
Correct. So let's not give him any more than he's asking for.
Okay. So I guess my other question then is the wording as far as the line items for building improvements, is that okay there? Like, is that how you guys want it spelled out? Like general repairs, maintenance, generator service contract, like, is that how you want it to read or?
No, that's fine.
That's fine. The 13,000 for the town service contract, is that how you guys want it?
Yeah, because right now it's an unknown, what he has going on.
Okay. All right. 740 equipment capital. So these are big ticket equipment items. Again, so a lot of this stuff you're going to see on here is all replacement. So the combi tool that's currently on engine 16 is almost 20 years old. The cutter on Rescue 12 is a low pressure cutter. That one is close to 20 years old as well. So we looked at replacements for both a combi tool on engine 16 and another battery all-9 cutter for Rescue 12. So the all-9 represents the classes of steel for extrication. The all-9 is basically a cutter that will cut anything that's out on the market today. So our cutter is still in good shape. The real problem with it is that, it's almost 20 years old. So with a lot of the new, and both, this goes for both the combi and the cutter, with the new car technology and stuff that's out there, we've been very successful, but we've had some extrications that were a little more difficult due to the strength of the car. So, the mindset of the officers and the chiefs is to start looking at replacing them with newer cutters. So this way, we have the technology to cut a harder car. There's Teslas rolling through Seymour, and our cutter will not be able to cut that. We had a extrication on 313, and it was a newer Subaru, and we had difficulty cutting posts of that vehicle with both Rescue 12's cutter and Rescue 17's cutter. So we were able to do it, by pushing off with some rams, but we do need to start looking into replacing some of our older extrication equipment to newer cutters, stronger cutters. So the 35,000 would cover both. Both units are, roughly between $15,000 and $17,000. Obviously, battery is the way to go. Both of the batteries would be high pressure, so it'd be over 10,000 PSI. 16 has a 10,000 PSI power unit motor. Rescue 12 is all set up as low pressure 5,000 PSI. So it would be a big upgrade for the rescues. And again, that's 740. That's a bigger equipment capital. So, everybody knows with equipment capital, a big, 740 with the equipment capital, everybody kind of knows that $35,000 kind of gets put in a bank, and you may get it and you may not. So it's more of a bigger line ticket item. There was some talk about replacing air pack frames. Obviously the bottles were in great shape. Our bottles, I want to say we're only in a 3-year mark of a 15-year bottle. But what we need to start looking at is replacing SCBA frames. So I was going to put that line item in. I didn't. And the only reason I didn't is because this year is going to be another certification year for SCBA. So I kind of feel if we hold off one more year and maybe approach that next year, I would hate to purchase SCBA frames and then in 365 days, what we bought is no good already. So, the manufacturers are going to be, going out for recertification this year. So I think we're safe, just kind of mending what we still have. And if something breaks, obviously we can send it out and get it replaced. But, maybe waiting one more year before we start replacing SCBA harness. We're going to save when we do have to do that, the department's going to save a pretty tremendous amount of money, obviously, because we don't have to replace that cylinder. But it's just, food for thought for next year. Just, something to think about. So, again, most of this stuff, I'm not looking to purchase the newest and wow stuff. Basically everything that's on here is replacement stuff. So, any questions on 740 equipment capital?
No, I'm good.
And again, that's not locked in there, but I figure put it in and we can hope for the best. Obviously, apparatus replacement program, vehicle lease, we don't have any vehicles on lease. 743 machinery, equipment, and OSHA. Those are the estimated dollar amounts of everything that we spent this year. It's pretty much the same as last year. The town usually doesn't touch this too much because obviously, these tests have to be maintained through OSHA. We live in a con-OSHA state, so all these things have to be done. The only thing I did take out, just so you know, the only thing I did take out on 743, where it says battery replacement SCBA, I took out battery replacement portables. We're not gonna, we bought spare batteries in the radio upgrade, so we don't need to have portable batteries replacement. I want to say we have 15 spare batteries, so we're in good shape there. So I took that out. The department has always changed its pack batteries, its SCBA batteries, every 6 months. So we change them in January, and then we change them again in July. And that's the Scott SCBA standard for batteries. So I put $2,000. So we should be pretty good there. Okay, 745. You'll notice this went down. This was a decrease. So 2 thermal imaging cameras, $14,000. That includes the truck chargers for it. These 2 cameras will finish that project. So these 2 cameras would be the last 2 that we purchase to get rid of the old Scott Eagle Air cameras. Be 1 for each house. This way everything would have a newer camera. So we don't have any cameras, any thermal imaging cameras that are, I want to say 3 years old in the department right now, once we purchase those 2. Talked with the officers, ropes. We're obviously doing a lot more rope stuff. So I'd like to do some rope upgrades. Some of our rope is fine. Some of it we do need to replace. We do need to replace some of the hardware. And this would be rescue rope, life safety rope, and water rope. So it'd be all 3 style ropes that we use. I put 3,500 in there. That may be a little bit higher. I don't know exactly what hardware we need to purchase, but I'd like to, look at our carabiners, look at our 2-to-1 systems, look at our RIT stuff. If anything looks like it's just been beat up, I want to replace it. Any rope that's more than 10 years old, we should be taking out of service, and replacing as well. Inflatable boat, $6,000. So, the smaller boat at Citizens is on its last leg. It's a pretty small boat for a rescue boat. The thought process is, I don't know, I can send you guys some pictures of it, but they call it a banana boat. And it's a rescue boat through, I want to say RCI. And basically what it is it's an inflatable boat. It's an FPA approved, OSHA approved. And basically what happens is that boat, you fill up with a Scott pack, and it fills up in 15 seconds. It's extremely light for what we would use it for at Citizens, the fish ladder, launching it at off of Derby Avenue by the community center. It's a much more feasible boat to have than what we are currently running. We wouldn't need a trailer for it. Basically, once you're done with it, you dry it out, you fold it up and you put it in the Pelican box. Again, it inflates with just one SCBA. It has halyard points on all sides of the boat, so you can tie the boat off as a rope, with rope rather. But I think, it's, again, this would be an upgrade, because the boat that's at Citizens is just, it's got several leaks. It's small. The Chiefs did talk about taking the Zodiac at Great Hill and bringing it to Citizens. That boat is in great shape. The thing about that boat, though, is it's still kind of big. We don't have the launching capabilities with a bigger boat like that. With this one, 2 firefighters can lift this up and put it right in the water and have a tether on it. So again, it's something we're looking to upgrade. I can send out the literature on that. I forgot to do that before the meeting. I apologize. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Mike,
Yes.
you decrease that line item. Maybe you
Correct.
should make it the same as last year, because I'm looking at what I'm seeing is hose. We have not been really fulfilling our hose needs.
Well, we just bought 15,000 feet of 5-inch.
Right, but you're still shy 1 3/4, 2.5. You're still shy 3-inch.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we can look at. I kind of feel that we were in pretty good shape with hose. We bought a good plethora of hose last year. At the beginning of the year, we bought more hose, and then, we just purchased 15,000 feet of 5-inch. I mean, I know the rack at Citizen is pretty full, but it's still something we can look at. Hose is always touchy because you don't know what you're going to fail. We could have a fire tonight and lose, several links. But if we want to go up in anything for that, I mean, I would go up in the fire hose. Last year we spent, in fire attack lines, not 5-inch, and attack lines, we spent about $5,000. Do you want to go up $1,000 on that? Would that be?
How much does a length of 1 3/4 cost, Mike?
I want to say we're paying 143, maybe 143, 159. Don't quote me. Obviously, the 1,500 feet of 5-inch was a big nugget. I want to say a length of 5 inches, almost $600.
Yeah, but it was older 5-inch that we lost.
Yes, correct. All that. We lost 900 feet of 5-inch. I want to say, I don't have the hose report in front of me, but we lost about 900 feet last year. But it was all pretty older 5-inch.
Yeah.
So we bought 1,500 feet to basically put 500 back on the tower. The rest of that is to put on all the engines. Great Hill is 100%. Both 15 and 16 have 1,500 feet. 13 and 11, I want to say 13 short 2 lengths and 11 short 1 length. And that would give us 200 feet spare. You know, that hose is in. I got to have a, you know, we can schedule time in. I need to have a workshop or a work party and have, you know, just like 10 guys come down and load that up. I mean, we're still in pretty good shape as far as what's on the trucks currently. We did not put 1,000 feet on the tower. We left that at 500. It's just much easier to get 500 feet off than 1,000. That bed it's rated for 1,000 feet, but it's very difficult to pack 1,000 feet. You know, we never really use that truck to lay in. It's usually that hose is more of a supply hose, you know, as a feeder. So, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with leaving 500 on there for now. But it, you know, whatever you guys want to do, if you want me to increase hose, I definitely can increase that. I did bring it down just because I'm trying to stay within that 5%.
I think we should increase it on 1 3/4 and 2.5 just on attack lines, just because we don't have a lot of spare. I mean, if we do get a fire, trying to put wet hose back on a truck is not a good thing.
Right.
And if we can at least have enough spare on hand to be able to put dry hose on a truck,
Yep.
would be a benefit.
Yep. What we tried to do earlier in the year is we bought a lot of 1 3/4, and the game plan with that was we tried to buy enough hose to complement each truck. You know, so you know your 2 1 3/4 cross lays at 200 feet. You know, so we bought, each house bought 1,600 feet. So this way, you know, take engine 13 for instance. You know, we have a fire tonight. We pull both Mattadales. It's cold. It's wet. You know, the hose is going to have to come off. We're going to have to replace it. We already have 4 lengths of each color at the firehouse. You know, so this year we probably should look at well, we should probably wait till see what we fail as far as testing goes. But this year we should probably start looking at, you know, your 2.5 loads and your 3 inch.
Well, then let's put that in there just to cover us in case we do lose it.
Okay.
Because a lot of our 3 inch is older.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
hose is the one item that's always like, you know, because we've had some pretty successful years where we, you know, hose testing we're spot on, and then we've had some where we're like we took a trailer of failed hose home. So, but yeah, we can increase that. So where do we want to? It's at 4,000 now. Where do we want to be with that? Do we want to push that back to 6,000?
Is that what we had last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we ought to put it back.
Okay, I'll put that back into 6,000. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to take out notes. So still, we're still on 745 machine. And is there any other questions on hose before I move?
Nope.
So 5 45-minute cylinders. So you know, again, kind of like the gear, you know, we're in a 10-year cycle with that. So every year we buy 10 sets. So, you know, we don't ever want to be in the situation that we were in 2 years ago with SCBA cylinders. You know, to have to replace an entire fleet of SCBA bottles was horrible. So, you know, what we want to do is we want to have it so we're buying about 5 cylinders a year. And what this does is, you know, you have a spread out where, you know, your bottles all aren't bought in the same year. These 5 actually would bring us up 100%. We are still short about 3 or 4 bottles. So I want to say Rescue 12 is missing 2 bottles, and the ladder truck is missing 3 bottles. So these 5 would bring us 100%, and it would bring us into our cycle of buying 5 cylinders a year. Last year we did not buy them, you know, because I am trying to space that out. I don't want to have to buy, you know, 50 cylinders ever again. So I'm trying to space that out. So 5 is kind of where we're at. You're looking at about $6,000. I did not get the quote back from Shipmans. So I went off last year's numbers of where we would have been as far as pricing wise goes. 10-minute or 6 pagers. Again, we phased out the Minotaur 4s. There are some Minotaur 5s still hanging around. Last year the year before we purchased 16. Last year we purchased 16. So I knocked that down to 10 this year because I'd have to double check with both house captains, but I think we're kind of getting to the point where almost everyone has a Minotaur 6 at this point. So 5,000, I might be a little high on that number. That was from the year before. I would have to double check with Norcom and see exactly what we're running. We're not buying the amplified pagers. We're buying just the charging base and the pager itself. So we do save some money there. So that line item, for a total is 38.5. So it's going to be 40,500 once I make the upgrades to the hose. So you'll see, again, most of the stuff that's in here, there's not a whole lot of, wants. There's not a whole lot of wants. This is really a needed budget as far as equipment goes. The biggest thing on here that would be an upgrade would be the boat, and obviously the cutter and the combi tool. Again, the cutter and the combi, you're replacing items of equipment that's almost 20 years old. And that is, to me, that's a huge safety factor because we do a ton more extrication in the town than we do fires. Maybe not this year, but in reality, we're doing a lot more extrication than we are fires. So we need to have strong cutters. So that I feel is a good thing for capital. The thermal imaging cameras, the 2 cameras, again, that would bring us into, having all brand new cameras. So our oldest thermal imaging camera would be 3 years old, and the department would be 100%. The ropes we're upgrading, several things. It's not just one thing. You're doing RIT, rescue, life, and water. So it's a pretty straightforward budget, in my opinion. So not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of wiggle room. But we did go down, so we are going to be presenting the budget with almost a little more than 5%, which is pretty much where the town wants to be. So that's all I really have. If anybody's got questions, I'll be happy to answer. Pete, you would just have to adjust it per question.
Yeah.
I'll just so everybody knows, I'll make these changes. Tom, if you can just find out about what we talked about in regards to the line items that really, are town line items, not fire operational budget line items. And then just Clay on if you could talk to Timmy in regards to that fire prevention stuff. And then I'll go ahead and make the changes, based on what you guys see here tonight. And then, we can turn this in as the mock budget, and then probably have another finalizing workshop before January 24th, I believe. That's when it's got to be turned. Yes.
Can you go into the building?
When you popped in here, I didn't see you. Can I go to where?
Building.
Pete, you got it?
Yeah. I think.
Right there, 720.
Getting me dizzy. Okay. So on the building improvements, right, we have general repairs and maintenance, $26,000. I'm just, as you guys know, this is my first year doing this budget. So can you explain to me, or can you break it down some, what the general repair / maintenance is?
Sure. This is Anne Marie. This is Tim Connor's budget now.
I know, so I have to sit down and talk this over with Tim, because when I see a $50,000 increase, I would like to know why there's an increase so we can explain it together.
Yep.
What is exactly the general repairs and maintenance? What is spent
real
on
quick?
that?
It covers Jarvis for electrical stuff for both houses. It covered previously Eman Mechanical for work in both firehouses. It covers overhead door for work in both firehouses. That's the type of general maintenance and things that go on. It's in part of that line item.
Right.
Okay, can we break it down some as well? So when, Tim Connors and I and Tony I know everybody else has the experience of doing this budget, but we also have some new commissioners on here as well. And I think it'd be a great explanation for them to understand how this budget is done and what goes where.
Anne Marie,
Yeah,
the general repairs, it includes the spring maintenance for air conditioners at both firehouses, furnace cleanings twice a year. It includes toilet repairs, anything that goes wrong in the firehouse. That's where all of that comes from. It's kind of hard to break it down and say that 26 is going to be, $8,000 is going to be furnaces, 5,000 is going to be toilets. We don't know. That's why we just lumped it into one large number, because the furnace cleanings have been, with the oil and everything, it happens quite a bit.
do we have where we were last year with that and
Yep.
what we spent on
You-
that last year?
Anne Marie, it's Mike. So last year, we were we requested 47. So this year we're at 50. So that's why you see the increase there. It's not
Okay.
it's not a true $50,000 increase. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy.
I was like, do you really have a death wish, Lombardi?
No,
No, actually,
no, we
actually,
were
you can take that on Tim. Tim's the one that talked to me the other day. He says, even though it's under him, he says, we need to put a placeholder of 50,000 because he's had contractors come in to do service contracts across the board in all the town buildings. So he's waiting to see what those pricings are coming back.
Yeah, so I want to say last year we were at 47.1. So this year we upped it to 50, and that was based on the recommendations that Tim had given Tommy.
Okay. Thanks,
we
Clay,
can-
for explaining that.
We can change that line item to, as far as the line item wordage, we can change that to anything that would help to get the 50,000.
Listen, if it was 47 last year, I'm looking at maybe 48. Sorry. I'm looking to actually, I'll fight Tim over it. It's okay. I may be tiny. I'm not afraid of big guys. Anybody on this board will know that. Take them out at their knees. That's why he can't walk. General service contract. I understand that's like a contract, and Clay, correct me if I'm wrong. That's like that's like your service contracts for like your air conditioning and stuff like that, right?
It's also contracts for the air compressors, for our compressed air, for our SCBA's.
Okay. Like the cascade system, something like that.
Exactly, correct, for
Okay.
both houses, right.
Great. Station cleaning, floor waxing. And is this what we pay the people to do, to come in and do?
Yes. We
That would
generally do it once. We used to do it twice a year. Now we've been doing it, I believe it's still twice a year. We generally do it in the springtime and then in the fall, just to kind of protect all the tile floors. It's not something that our stewards it is in their job descriptions, and we've been doing that just to make sure that they're professionally cleaned so that we can protect the tiles.
Okay, great. And of course, the heating and air AC service contract, that's something different than the general service contract.
Correct.
What is the town service contract?
The town service contract, not to jump over Clay, I just had worded it that way. Because basically, from my understandings, and I could be wrong, but basically now with the building improvements, no one really has a true building improvement line item. All that money gets put into one budget line item. And then as repairs are needed for buildings, that's where it comes out of. So I just put town service contract for 13,000. I mean, I can change that wording to, whatever.
Actually, in all, Anne Marie, in all honesty, that doesn't exist right now, what you're seeing. Last year, Kurt moved it out and put it under Tim and Tony, under town buildings. Only reason we have it, we can still see it is, and when I do the requisitions for purchase orders, I'm allowed to, by Doug, I'm allowed to get into the 550 line item specifically towards that money was set aside for working on firehouse buildings.
Get down.
If we had to replace part of the cupola on C2, Right, where would that money come out from?
It would come out of this.
Right. And
It
if
would
we
be the
had,
same thing we had with the 4 last year at Great Hill, that we were all told the drain had to be replaced. There was money put aside. We had to wait a year for it, money put aside. When it came down to it, there was no money put aside. So it came out of the 720, which became the 550 on the town side building. And money was yanked out of there to do the job.
if we had to do an expansion at Great Hill, don't get all excited, Quinn. Where would that money come out of?
What type of expansion?
I don't know. Say something crazy. We had to expand the garage or something.
That would be a bond. That would be a bond.
That'd be a bond issue.
Yeah,
All
you'll
right.
need a lot more than $50,000 for that.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that, but I'm just trying to, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is $13,000, if we had to do something, is split between 2 of the firehouses.
Hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
It doesn't seem, and trust me, I'm not saying we're gonna give you more. It just doesn't seem like it's a heck of a lot of money. When we're
I'm-
talking about houses, that house, almost $1 million worth of equipment.
I think that the town service contract would be a miscellaneous contract for anything that isn't specified above.
Okay. All right, I just
Yeah. So,
trying to explain, I'm just trying
So-
to understand it, that's all.
Anne Marie, I mean, and any of the commissioners, if I'm on a line, just shout at me, but the building improvements, the 720, that's really, that line item, the 720 building improvement line item is basically your general repairs of the building and contracts for the housing of the buildings. If that makes sense.
Yes, all right.
It's that the building improvements, it's kind of tough how it's worded, the 720, because it's not a true, like say, hypothetically, we needed to replace the apparatus floor at Citizens, which is in need of some work. That wouldn't truly come out of building improvements. We would probably need more than what's in building improvements to fix that.
Right.
Is that kind of a true statement, guys? Like, I'm not talking out of tone.
Right. It's basically to fix a town building,
Correct.
whatever we need to fix it.
Have you guys put thought into what needs, Mike, I know you mentioned the apparatus bottles, right? And how that one year we had to order all those bottles.
Correct. The cylinders. Yep.
Yeah, I still haven't forgot about that.
Yeah, me neither. It's kind of a nightmare, to be honest with you.
Yeah, kind of a sticking point with me right now. Have we thought about, I know the buildings are owned by the town, but have we thought and we looked at the buildings? I mean, Clay, we have gone through so much issues with C2 and the boilers and the radiators leaking.
Oh, we're not done.
Yeah, I know, right? Just looking at any possible issues down the road we may have. And even though I know it's a town issue, but it's still part of the building improvements for that.
Well, some of the problems that we're having now are still going on still with the project that's in place. Because they didn't see the original complaints that we had were that the thermostats were not working and we're burning more oil because the thermostats didn't work. And the next thing that happened is when the town went out to take and fix this, we ended up with a new boiler, a new burner assembly. We ended up changing to natural gas. We ended up doing
Bless you.
all kinds of things, but we never addressed the thermostats. So right now we're running partially on electronic thermostats and partially on the old air system because I believe that was not quoted in the original bid spec or quotes when they were going to do this job. So now they're rebidding that to get that taken care of. So if all of that is taken care of, I mean, the biggest things that I can see that are coming down the road is the replacement of the air conditioning system at Citizens, because it's running on an older Freon that's not going to be available.
Hmm.
And it's going to be very expensive, so that the system's you're going to have to replace the condensing units outside. You're going to have to and flush and clean the systems. And I don't know if the air handlers upstairs, which are, I've been there 40 years. They've been up in the attic that long. I don't know how much longer they're going to last. So, I mean, and I don't know how the system at Great Hill, I don't know how old their system is. That to me would be one of the biggest things coming up. The other thing is, we've been talking for years about a generator to take and power both buildings and getting it out of the basement at Citizens. That's another one that's going to be a lot of money. Those are the two biggest things I can think of, right off the top of my head.
This might be a stupid question, but I don't know if we can do it this year because of the budget, but maybe in the future, is there a way that we can create a line item for building improvements capital for like what Clay's saying, your big ticket items that we need to start looking forward to in the future?
That's what I was thinking that in my head, if we can,
And that be the old
because
5 or 10-year plan.
yeah, part of
Yep.
the 5 to 10-year plan, yeah.
Yep. And I've always been and this is just me talking again, I've always been a pretty big advocate for, an apparatus capital plan. We always kind of sell ourselves short, when we go to the town and we're like, hey, we need, $650,000 for a new piece of apparatus. If we had some type of, apparatus, we have a 15-year apparatus plan, so we sat down 2 years ago and wrote that plan. So we know what piece of apparatus needs to be replaced, when it needs to be replaced. If we had an apparatus capital plan where we could put something into it, I'm not saying, $200,000 a year, but, $50,000, so, and you leave it in that account for 4 years. And, within the 4 years, you go to the town and say, hey, we're going to replace the tank on the tanker. It's going to cost $300,000, but we already have budgeted for capital $200,000. Only to go to the town and ask for $100,000 is a lot more easier than,
Absolutely.
going after $300,000. And I mean, you have to be honest too, though. I mean, we do have an aging fleet. 3 of our trucks are almost 20 years old. 2 are 20. They're still in good condition, but obviously they're big machines. So, the tower is a great hypothetical truck. When something goes wrong on that tower, it's usually not like a $500 fix. It's usually like a $10,000 fix. But it's a big machine.
You're not getting another tower.
Oh, no, by no means am I pushing for a new piece of apparatus. I just think that if we
Good,
put
because I'd be
some
like,
type
you
of,
better put pajamas on because you're sleeping.
because, I just think it would help us as a selling point when the fire department has to go to the Board of Finance and, and say, hey, we need to purchase a new engine this year. It's $650,000. We don't have anything. Can you cut us a check for $650? If we had some type of apparatus capital plan, I think in the future it would help.
I think that's a great idea, and that it's exactly what Public Works does. Rory, I know Rory is leading the meeting, but I don't know if he can hear. I wonder if maybe having the strategic planning committee also be a part, look at the fire department as well, and maybe put that in there. As you know, Seymour is increasing with its residents, right? And what happens, we're building, we have Bolden Ridge, which is building now too. So what happens when we build more houses? We have more residents come in. What happens when we have more residents come in? We have more taxpayers, which are great, but it also starts taxing our fire departments, right? Our ambulance, our police, our schools. So maybe having the strategic planning committee also look at our fire departments and put a plan together with that would help.
Yeah, I've spoken to Chief Lombardi about it a little bit. You know, as the all volunteer department, you know, they're kind of the odd man out sometimes, in that it's, you know, we don't have you at the senior staff meetings and that kind of thing. But absolutely, I mean, I know we had talked about there was a strategic plan for the fire department from several years ago. Obviously, capital planning is super important. If you guys are interested, I'm sure strategic planning would love to work with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I can't speak for any of the commissioners, but would imagine, you know, I'm definitely 100% on that.
It's something we've asked for years and nobody's listened to us.
Well, I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea if we have at least one chief from each house, as well as two commissioners, just to work with the strategic planning committee together, or you guys work together as a group. I don't have a problem with that. Everybody, I think, knows my motto is that we're only as good as our weakest player, right? Unless you're the Indians, then you're that damn good. Shut up, Lombardi.
I didn't say a word.
Uh,
It's tough. It's a tough team, but hey, you know, everybody has an opinion.
Leave them alone. But
They just-
I think, go ahead, Clay.
They just got to find a new name.
I mean, the team from Cleveland.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there. I refuse to get rid of my Indian wear. I just think that's where we need to start focusing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a huge help. You know, because I know you've had many conversations with, you know, different members of the Board of Selectmen, and that's the biggest, I don't want to say downfall on us selling equipment is, you know, we don't kind of sell our trucks that well. It's always, hey, we need $650,000, where if we had a little bit more of a cushion to walk in, it would be easier on everybody's part.
Right. And I think, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I think when you guys, and I don't want to say you guys, but I think when the fire department comes to the Board of Selectmen and, you know, we have a room full of firefighters because they want us to pass and vote on, you know, money for a budget for the fire trucks, that's when we see you guys. You know, it'd be nice for you guys to come and say, hey, listen, we have a plan put in place and we like to be part of the strategic planning committee, and we like to being proactive in helping yourself and helping the building. I think that would go a long way as well.
Well, the thought of putting money away every year as a capital for a fire truck or an engine or fire apparatus, whatever you want to call it. We've asked for that many, many years to take and put money away so that we wouldn't be doing the shock factor of walking in and saying, we need $650,000.
Right.
And every time we do that, we're told, nope, when you need it, come see us. So
Like plans.
exactly. So what do? I mean, we've asked, and we're told, look, when you need it, come ask us.
Yeah, I think we should definitely, you know, like Rory and both Anne Marie said, you know, I think we should sit down with the strategic committee and,
Sure.
you know, maybe open up to, you know, see if we can open up 2 line items, you know, one for building improvement capital for the bigger ticket items, like you were talking about, Clay, with the ACs, you know, put some money in that for next year. You know, hopefully we can do it for another year, hold that stuff for a year without it breaking. And then, you know, same thing with the apparatus, you know, put money aside for apparatus. So when we are ready to purchase stuff, or, you know, the next thing, if you were to look at the 15-year plan, the next thing on there is to replace the tank on the tanker. You know, the truck itself is in beautiful condition. The pump has been rebuilt. It's been recertified, you know, so we really just would need to replace the tank on the tanker. But even that, I mean, I've not sat and got any quotes on that, but if, you know, that was $250,000, you know, that's probably a big number.
I think what would be the goal with the strategic plan for every department, right, is to eliminate surprises and to take because there are departments that all along have been doing this, have been planning ahead. But if it's only a document that you see within the department, you know, so for example, when the town is making decisions about bonding, which, you know, very often is how we finance a large fire apparatus, right? If we don't see that coming 3 years in a row, that's how surprises happen, right? You know, we need to know that's there. So, you know, maybe we don't bond 5 million for roads. Maybe we do 4.5, and then we use an extra 0.5, you know, for a fire apparatus. And so, you know, it may just be even taking what you guys have already created and just merging it with the strategic plan. But I will make sure that we add that to the agenda for the next strategic planning meeting, and we'll start that discussion with them.
Yeah, we should definitely merge that 15-year apparatus plan with the strategic planning, in my opinion.
Okay.
Just because those are your big ticket items. You know what I mean? So that, again, that's just my opinion. You know.
Yeah, 100%, Mike. I agree with you on that.
You know, because I've done, you know, 2 trucks, and to sit in front of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance and ask for $1 million is not a fun feeling.
Understandable.
Sometimes I feel sorry for you guys, and I don't.
Hey, we can all retire and let the town pay $3.83 million for paid service.
3.8. It was that much 25 years ago. It's got to be more by now.
No, because you wouldn't have the numbers we have. You'd only staff an engine and rescue, and then you do split crews. You wouldn't have it wouldn't be a combo department anymore. Both firehouses would have to be updated.
3.8 is a very low amount. Very low.
We're not Greenwich.
We're not.
Well, your closest paid fire department would be Naugatuck, and that's 3.8 is not even close. I can tell you that right now. So.
So is there any questions on the mock-up budget? I've taken the notes on the things we're going to change.
This went well, Mike.
No, yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for explaining.
No problem. And then Rory, just let us know what needs to be done for the strategic plan, you know, as far as like meetings and stuff like that. You know, if you need me to put presentations together, or, you know, just, I can get that done. Just let me know.
The way that they're kind of changing the way they do things. So what they're doing is kind of like a consulting model now, where rather than, you know, do interviews with you guys and then write it for you.
Okay.
They work with you to help develop it. So
that's fine.
I'll start that conversation. Let's see, it'll probably be at their January meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I get a couple days notice, you know, so I can get it out to the group, you know, to make sure everybody's scheduled, you know, we can definitely put something together.
Well, let's find out how many people are going to be able to go to this, because we don't want to overtake them or overpower them by having so many people there either.
Well, so we can do it 2 ways. Either, you know, you guys can pick representatives, ideally less than a quorum, to come to the strategic planning meeting, or what they do is they'll attend your meeting. You know, they'll get less than a quorum to come to, you know, a commissioner's meeting or a chief's meeting, or however you want to do it. It's up to you guys.
So maybe we should invite them to our meeting for January.
When is that, Clay?
Should be the second Monday in January, unless I don't know when Martin Luther King Day is.
No, we're safe. Second Monday in January.
Okay, so it'll be the second Monday.
That's before they meet again. They meet the second Wednesday. So
Okay,
they
so
have heads up.
okay.
I mean, if it doesn't work, going to a meeting, we can go to theirs. Whatever will get the ball rolling, I guess, at
Yeah,
this point.
we can also set up, and I'm sure they're pretty flexible. We can set up a special joint meeting for the initial one so that everybody is there and can discuss stuff openly. Or I'll send an email out to them and kind of gauge their interest in see if they have any feelings about which way to do it.
I kind of like that idea, Rory. I kind of like the joint meeting, so everybody is there, so everybody is, both the fire chiefs, the fire commissioners, and the strategic planning committee is there together, so everybody's on the same page and everybody's working together
Okay.
That's-
at first, for the
Do that.
first meeting.
Sure.
And then from there, the commissioners and the chiefs can figure out what they want to do. Their representatives.
Sounds good.
Hi. So nice to hear a cute little voice and not a teenage voice.
And no eye rolls.
Or the,
Yep.
All right, cool. Any questions on the mock-up budget that I can answer? I've taken the notes for changes. Tommy, you're gonna talk to Tim Connors and see about how to rewrite that so it's a little more cleaner.
Yep, and I'll talk to Doug, so I know my 2 things I have to do.
Okay.
And I'll talk to Timmy first thing in the morning.
Okay.
great, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And again, Rory, thank you too for your other offerings.
So Tom, we're good for as far as if we don't turn this in by tomorrow, we're good for Monday then?
Yeah.
Just until we can make those changes. All right, I won't, just so everybody knows, I won't change anything till I hear back from everybody. And I will send out a new version of the budget based on those changes. So when you get that, just delete the old one so we're kind of keeping track of what we're looking at. Just so everybody's on the same page.
Can you put a revision on the bottom? A revision and a date on the bottom?
Yeah.
Because to me, a budget is a living, breathing document. So if we have the latest revision and a date on the bottom, then we all know we're looking at the latest one.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. I'll just put it by on the corner of the page or the
Yes. that's
stamp. All right, cool.
Anybody have any other questions? Do we need to talk about anything else?
Nope, that's your workshop. It was perfect.
All right. I guess
Oh.
we'll just,
Tom,
What?
I'm sorry. Tom, did you cut that rec for the firefighter 1 class?
Yep, that was,
Right.
rec was cut and purchase order was cut.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
all right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
everybody.
All right. Good night.
Good
Nice.
night, everybody.